Life has a way of exposing people's true nature, especially when money is involved. My name is Emma, and this is the story of how my stepsister Sarah's greed nearly tore my family apart, or so she believed. When my father remarried, I tried to welcome Sarah and her mother, Linda, into our lives. I was 12 then, still grieving the loss of my mother, while Sarah was 14 and already making it clear she saw me as competition. In front of our parents she played the perfect daughter, but behind closed doors, she whispered things like, "This is my house now. Your dad will love me more than you." I told my father, but Linda always defended her daughter, brushing it off as sibling rivalry. Wanting peace, my father encouraged me to be patient. So, I threw myself into school and later into my career, while Sarah drifted from job to job, constantly asking for money. Everything changed when my father fell ill with leukemia. I moved my work remote to help care for him, only to notice Sarah's sudden interest in his finances. She began guarding his time, claiming they were having private talks. What I didn't realize then was that she was plotting my downfall. One evening, I discovered my laptop missing. Days later, my father summoned me, pale and disappointed. Sarah sat at his side, crying, while Linda glared at me. Sarah opened my laptop to reveal fabricated bank transfers from my father's accounts to an offshore account in my name. I tried to protest, they were fake, but Sarah's tears and Linda's outrage drowned me out. My father, worn down and manipulated, declared he was changing his will. Sarah smirked at me afterward in the hallway. "I've been planning this for months. Everything that should have been yours is mine now." Soon after, my father's lawyer confirmed the change. Sarah inherited everything, the family home, his business shares, all $4.8 million. I was left with nothing. But Sarah overlooked one thing. My father had once told me, "Always keep proof of your integrity. The truth always surfaces." Years earlier, he'd given me access to a safety deposit box, inside, evidence Sarah didn't know existed. So I waited. For months, Sarah and Linda reveled in their new wealth, spending carelessly, while I quietly prepared. Today, that patience ends. I sat quietly in the bank manager's office, watching through the glass partition as Sarah and Linda strutted in, draped in expensive clothes bought with my father's money. They were here for his safety deposit box, newly discovered after they'd stumbled upon the key in his study. What they didn't know was that I'd already been there an hour earlier, speaking with Mr. Thompson, the manager who had known my father for 20 years. "Mrs. Walker, Miss Thompson," Mr. Thompson greeted them. "Please follow me to the vault." I remained out of sight as they disappeared. On the security monitor, I watched Sarah's eager hands unlock the box. Her grin collapsed when she found only a single USB drive and a sealed letter. The envelope read, "To be opened only in the presence of Emma Collins." Linda's face flushed with anger. "What is this? Where's the rest?" Sarah reached for the letter, but Mr. Thompson stopped her. "The instructions are clear, Miss Thompson." "This is absurd," she snapped. "I'm the sole heir. Everything is mine." That was my cue. I stepped inside. "Hello, Sarah, Linda." Surprised? Their faces blanched. Linda bristled, but Mr. Thompson calmly reminded them, "Miss Collins remains a registered holder of this box." I opened the envelope, my hand steady. Asterisk, "My dearest Emma. If you're reading this, I know Sarah's plan to frame you." I overheard her discussing forged bank statements and chose not to confront her immediately. Instead, I allowed her to reveal her true nature. The USB contains footage of Sarah breaking into my office and recordings of her calls with a hacker. By now, I've filed the real will with my lawyer, Mr. Davidson. The will Sarah believes in is a forgery. My entire estate belongs to you, Emma. Love, Dad. Asterisk. The blood drained from Sarah's face. Linda clutched the table. "You should have been more careful," I said softly. "Dad's office was always monitored." I pressed play on my phone. The footage appeared, Sarah at my father's desk, whispering, "Emma has to lose everything." Mr. Thompson stepped in as Sarah lunged for the device. "Cameras are recording, Miss Thompson. The police already have copies," I added. "They're very interested in fraud cases." Right on cue, 2 officers entered the room. Panic seized Sarah and Linda as they were placed under arrest, their protests echoing through the marble hall. I stayed behind, holding my father's letter, tears slipping down my cheeks. He had known. He had protected me. Weeks later, The courtroom unveiled everything: Sarah's theft, the forged records, her hired hacker turned witness. Linda's complicity was laid bare. Sarah broke down on the stand, screaming, "It wasn't fair, she always had Dad's love. I deserved that money." The judge's verdict was cold and final: 8 years for Sarah, 5 for Linda. As they were led away in cuffs, Sarah spat one last venomous glance at me. "I hate you, I always have." I didn't answer, I simply watched, not with triumph, but with sorrow for what our family could have been. I moved back into my childhood home. At first, it was hard. The walls were filled with memories of my father, alongside traces of Sarah and Linda's brief attempt to erase the past. They had started redecorating but never finished before their arrest. One evening, while sorting through papers in my father's study, I discovered an old photo album. Tucked inside was a sealed envelope addressed to me in his handwriting. My hand shook as I opened it. My dearest Emma. If you're reading this, everything has unfolded as I feared. Believing Sarah's lies at the hospital was the hardest act I ever put on. Pretending to turn against you, watching you leave thinking I'd abandoned you, it broke my heart, but it was the only way to reveal the truth. You were always my greatest joy. You carry your mother's strength and kindness, and I couldn't be prouder of the woman you've become. Yes, the money, the house, the business, they are yours, but what matters most is that you held on to your integrity, even when betrayed. That strength is your true inheritance. Betrayal leaves scars, but I hope you'll find the courage to build a new family, one rooted in love and trust, not obligation. You deserve happiness, Emma. Never let Sarah's choices poison your ability to trust and love. Take care of yourself, my brave girl. Know that your mother and I are always watching over you, proud of you. All my love. Dad*. Tears blurred the words as I read. Even in his final days, my father thought of my future, not the wealth he left behind, but the life he hoped I would build. In the months that followed, I rebuilt. The family business thrived under my care, and I created a scholarship in his name to help children who had lost parents to cancer. Therapy helped me process Sarah's betrayal and, slowly, I opened my heart again. I formed a chosen family, friends and loved ones bound not by blood, but by trust and loyalty. Sarah and Linda wrote from prison, their letters filled with apologies and pleas for forgiveness. I never replied. Some betrayals cut too deep, and some relationships are better left behind. Instead, I poured my energy into honoring my father's legacy, using the inheritance Sarah tried to steal to create good. That became my greatest victory, turning their greed into something meaningful. 5 years later, I still live in my family home, surrounded by memories of love and lessons that guide me. The pain has faded, replaced by peace and gratitude. Sarah and Linda lost everything: their freedom, their reputation, their future, but their betrayal gave me a gift: the realization that true wealth is not measured in money, but in the integrity with which we live. As I sit in my father's study, watching the sunset through his favorite window, I feel his presence. His last gift wasn't money or property, it was the lesson that patience and truth will always triumph over deception. Sometimes I wonder if prison has changed Sarah, but then I remember my father's words about choosing my own family, and I know I've made the right choice. My life is now full of love, purpose, and genuine relationships. Things Sarah never understood were worth more than any inheritance.